So Mars is on the move as we go into the next week here.
Yes, indeed. Mars, the planet of ego-oriented expression, is the polite thing to say about Mars, otherwise known as the planet of grief and aggravation. It is leaving the sign of Taurus on Thursday and going into the sign of Gemini, where it will be for 6 weeks. So wherever Mars goes is where you're putting your energy into. You're projecting your ego out into the world. So what they need to do is realize what they need to finish up this week to be ready for it to go into Gemini. So, for Gemini, the sign that we're in, Geminis have been playing with both hands tied behind their back. They've had a very, very frustrating 6 weeks as Mars was behind their sun. They need to finish up projects that they've been working on for 22 months. And not start new ones, but bring those other ones to a successful conclusion so then they can start over again and have a new 2-year cycle of activity. For Cancers, it's time to, they've been working for the last probably 2 years or so to bring a group objective into being, something that requires a team rather than individual effort. And they get the next 8 or 9 days or so to finish that up. And whatever deal, whatever they come to as far as negotiations, that's as good as it's going to be. For Leos, the grief...
I'm listening.
I know you are. The grief and aggravation you've been going through for the last 6 weeks or so with the powers that be, the bosses, there's been a lot of conflict with that, and Leos have had to, because it's a square, they've had to go, okay, roll their eyes, but go along with it. Well, that comes to an end. And that comes to an end during this week, and then they find out, they get the opportunity to say, see, I told you so. And then work to bring better things about for them. So
good. Sounds good to me.
Frustration comes to an end. For Virgos, they've done real well with important matters at a distance, the law, legal, educational matters, and they need to bring that to a successful climax, those negotiations, because there's going to be a huge amount of activity in their professional sector, so they need to make sure that they are straight to go with all of the other details. For Libras, they have spent a ton of money over the last 6 weeks or so. They've been literally nickeled and dimed to death, but they had to get their financial affairs in some kind of order, and then that's as good as it gets by the end of this week.
Okay.
For Scorpios, this has been in their 7th house of partners, and people have been yelling at them for the last 6 weeks or so. Yelling at them, everything Scorpio has done, they felt like the entire world was against them. And of course, it's because of their own actions, but nobody ever really wants to see that. They like to blame other people for doing things. Well, at least that comes to an end, and if they have a couple of nickels left, they can rub them together when it's done.
Okay.
For Sagittarians, they have been putting a Herculean effort forth at work, trying to restructure, and they haven't gotten a promotion, they haven't gotten an increase, they have just they've gotten more tasks, more responsibilities, and now that comes to an end. And whatever happens on Friday, that's the maximum of their responsibilities. So that's kind of good for them. For Capricorns, they have been having a blast, being very, very creative, having a good time with love affairs, with children, amusement, sports, pleasures, and that comes to a screeching halt on Friday, and then they have to, no kidding, get back to work. Seriously, get back to work, and do 2 jobs and only get paid for one, which is very frustrating. For Aquarians, they have had a very, very difficult time at home. They and Leos both have been very, very frustrated with Mars in Taurus, and that also comes to an end for them. So as far as their home problems, they at least now know what they need to do to fix it, and they'll be able to go forward and get that together for them, because if your home's not stable, it doesn't matter where you are with the rest of the world. For Pisces, this energy has been in their 3rd house of day-to-day living, and they have literally been behind the power curve because they've had so much on their plate, so much to do, so much energy that it'll be nice to settle down and not have to do so many things at once. I get the sense that they were juggling things in the air, and that the plates all full. So whatever they're left with, they can then go ahead and start to incorporate into their day-to-day living. For Aries, it has been in their 2nd house of money, and they have spent a ton of money on finances, on unanticipated expensive repairs. I just put a new roof on, that kind of thing. That comes to an end for them, and their expenses slow down. And then for Taurus, Mars has been in their sign for the last 6 weeks. They've been like Robert Conrad going, "Get ahead, knock this off my shoulder." Well, they're not nearly so combative. They have carved out a new niche for themselves, and whatever it is that they brought into being over the last 6 weeks or so can now be incorporated into their life and into their lifestyle. So that's tomorrow's news today for the 12 signs of the zodiac.
Sounds like good news for the most part.
For the most part, it's a pretty good time.
Well, all right. Thank you, my dear. We'll see you next week and do it again.
A pleasure.